And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Put your thumbs up and say it's TicketyBoo.
TicketyBoo.
TicketyBoo, TicketyBoo, everything's TicketyBoo.
TicketyBoo, son. TicketyBoo.
TicketyBoo. Welcome to TicketyBoo, the podcast where we discuss the ups and downs of life. We're three therapists just chatting. I'm Andy and I'm joined by Ian and Iona, and today we're diving into something all of us do without even noticing. And it's how we become around certain people, how we quietly shapeshift and mold and change our behaviours. So if you're listening to this, and I know it's a conversation that we're going to have in the room, do you ever catch yourself showing up as a completely different version of you, depending who's in the room? It's like switches that get thrown inside of us. You suddenly become quieter or louder or more agreeable or a bit more guarded. It's strange, isn't it, how we do these automatic switches? Sometimes are actually quite subtle. And none of us really stop to ask, why is it that we're actually doing this? Can you recognise this as a trait that you do?
Oh yeah, there's different versions of me for lots of different situations. You've got the professional version, you've got the building site version, you've got the therapist version.
Yeah.
You've got the grossly inappropriate version, which seems to struggle to hide. He comes out in nearly all of those. But yeah, I've got the healthy ones, which is different versions of me according to the environment that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have probably the slightly less healthy ones where it might be somebody from the past and you fall back into the role that you were in, or you feel that you should stay quiet, or
Yeah. That's where I'm kind of going with this. I mean, we do have different versions. I say this to my clients, the version of me in the therapy room is slightly different to the version of me in the classroom, which is very different to the version of me stood in the pub with you having a pint. We all become these different versions. We adapt. But what I'm talking about is when we shift, protect, there's a radical change because of something that we're picking up around us, if you know what I mean. That's where I'm talking about, like we shut down, or we no longer speak our truth, or
people pleasing,
or we people please, or we fix. So like for me, because of my attachment style, for many years I put way too much work and effort and energy in getting people to be nice to me that were not nice people, because if they were nice to me, I could feel safe, if that kind of made sense. So I was like a chameleon, adapting, changing who I was, investing time and energy into bad energy so I could just be treated well. Yeah. That's what I'm on about.
Yeah. As a survival mechanism, as opposed to just appropriately showing up in different environments to be in different interactions.
You could be around toxic or manipulative people, or aggressive people, or whatever they be, and I would drop into not quite the court gesture. How do I make them smile? How do I make them happy? How do I make them like me so there can be peace, so I can feel safe? Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% understand.
Yeah.
And I think there's a very fine line between it being a skill set and being something that you naturally do as a survival instinct.
Yeah. I mean, it served me well sometimes in business where you'd have a particular prickly contracts manager or somebody that you're dealing with going, how do I strike rapport with you? How do I get on the same page so we can get to the same result?
Which is positive because it's being adaptable.
Yeah, well, that's because that relationship was transactional. But when it's a friend, a family member, or something like that, that's very different, because you are turning down the colours or the sounds on your personality. In some ways, you're kind of manipulating, but not in a negative way, into like just create a safe space for you to operate in.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, for me, just listening now, for me, one of the things is to have a truly, a proper connection with somebody. There has to be a certain amount of me allowing myself to be vulnerable. letting them to hear me, things, that things that are important to me, things that can be ridiculed, things that will sort of put me out there and open to criticism.
Yeah.
To me, so to have that connection, that's what I do. But there are certain people that you just can't do that with because you don't know what you're going to get back. You've got the naysayers, and then you've got something which is my biggest problem. I have an expectation of what I think other people are going to think or say or react, and then I'm quite disappointed when I get something different back.
So do you then, or was there a point in your life then when you adapt your behaviour in the hope that they would move to that position that you were looking for?
In the past,
yeah,
it has been without a doubt. Now, I'm old and grumpy. I just don't engage. It's like people are, oh, he's dead funny. He's the crazy one, and then you're just going, and they're just not your people. And then people have built this expectation up of you. Oh, he's really funny. He's full of one-liners, and then you go into a room, and they're just not your people, and you just feel like you want the world, the ground to swallow you.
Yeah,
you feel like you're shrinking inside.
Yeah.
That's,
no, I completely hear. I mean, has there been a point in your life or a trait that you've recognised around maybe certain personalities? Or
I would definitely say with age becomes that I don't care as much.
Right.
But there was certainly a time in my younger years, definitely teenage years and 20s, where you adapt and fit in. And my big thing was being the party animal. I want to fit in. I want to be friends with everybody. So I would be the jester. I could, as I've shared before, I could drink everybody under the table. Like that became my thing, where it's like, it's not my thing anymore. And I also don't care. But that has come with age. And, I'm in my 50s, full on menopause. And quite frankly, the F's have left the building.
So you said something there, like now you don't care. So what I'm hearing between the three of us is we did care too much.
Yes, definitely.
Back then, and that's why the behaviour would shift.
And you don't know that it's because you care at the time. You're adapting because, as we say, it's survival. We're trying to fit in. We're figuring out where we fit in the world, like how we were in our teenage years, 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
Like I've been different every decade. And we're trying to find out who we are, trying to find our way in the world. We're trying to figure out what career we do or don't want, whether we're starting a family or not whenever we've done it. And it's finding how we fit in, I think. So it's not necessarily always a toxic trait. Sometimes it's just like, how the heck do I do this? And you try to fit in with this group of let's say in my situation where I became a mum, it's like, oh yeah, I didn't fit into all mum groups because, again, I'm not mainstream average mum. I'm a little bit quirky and do things my way.
You just said something to me there. Mums. I had a client in the other day, and this is a classic example how we shift our behaviours. A client was in the other day, and she was saying that she was out on a works night out, and most of her office are females. So they were sat there having this meal and this drink, and she said, I didn't really like the way that the energy that the group conversation shifted, which was the majority of the group were absolutely character assassinating their partners, their boyfriends and their husbands. They're useless. He never does that. I can't be bothered with him. And she was feeling really uncomfortable with the conversation. And she was feeling particularly uncomfortable because she knows one of them really well and the partner. And actually, she's very, very happy with her partner and they've got a great relationship. But this person to fit in dropped into, I'm going to character assassinate my partner as well so I don't stand out from the group. And that's how easy we can be.
It's really interesting,
conditioned.
Isn't it? When we think of that, because we have a deep psychological need to belong, like we're born that way.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, we want to be part of the group. We want to be part of the clan. Like it's a survival mechanism that's in our DNA.
It's tribal instinct.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to be alone.
That was how we survived back in the days. It was a tribe, but it was survival.
Because you didn't survive alone. So we've got that going on.
Think our youth. I'm just thinking back to when we were kids and some of the people that we knocked around with. Some of them, you needed them to like you because if they didn't, they would make your life a misery.
Yeah.
So you would side up to these people, or you'd want to be that classic phrase, be the friend with the biggest person in the playground kind of thing, and then no one's going to bother you. But we had friendships and people in our circle that today we wouldn't even give a second look to, but you wanted them in your tribe. You didn't want to be on the outside because then you became a target. But then when you do that, your behavior and your identity shifts, doesn't it? You become somebody different.
Yeah, but this is something that Iona had said a few minutes ago about having this identity of who I am. And this identity of who I am is actually, it's not who I am, it's who they think I am.
Yeah.
So you're not living in this authentic version of yourself. So you kind of feel lost. And you're constantly changing this identity based on what you think the people around you should be seeing,
or the role that you believe that you should be playing.
I think very much that too, because also I had postnatal depression. So if we're going back to the mum perspective, but that was because my expectations of myself were so extreme of what I expected of myself. So that actually wasn't anybody else. That wasn't me trying to fit in with them. I was literally, this is how I have to do it. And then it didn't help that some of the other people I was hanging around with were sort of also thinking that too. So it was interesting, but it was certainly my expectations of myself at that point. Whereas some of the times where I matched the environment have been unhealthy in a very different way, where I've been sort of poisoning myself with, substances. So it's been different. It's almost like they're masks we wear. Would you say we're trying to see, do we fit here? It's a mask we put on. We don't know, and we don't know that we're masking.
No, of course not. But it's really important what you're saying there, because it's easy to say the issues with everybody around us and the problem's not within. And I think in reality, most of the time, the situation is within. Because if we were just our authentic self, most of these people that we're trying to impress would get on with us perfectly well in any way, and the ones that didn't don't really matter.
But
so it's
when you're younger, being your true authentic self.
Well, half the time you don't know who your true authentic.
Well,
then the big joke is everybody else is actually trying to figure out who they are. So if everybody could show up confidently, kindly.
Well, we invest a lot of energy in sort of hiding our vulnerabilities, don't we?
Yeah.
And what I found from experience is when you're hiding your vulnerabilities, you tend to tolerate things when you're in a good space that you wouldn't.
Do you think that confidence is the key to not doing that? An example of that is I know this is in the old days where people used to talk to people in pubs before social media, but you always see that guy, or you see it on films where people will go up and they'll go to talk to a hot girl or someone they like, and they just turn into a big gibbering idiot and they just say something that they didn't mean. So, whereas, in reality, they run away hands held at the end of the film, they get on great. If people actually if you were confident enough just to push your true self out there, who you are, without questioning yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a place you've got to grow into, isn't it?
Yeah, that could, yeah.
But I also think that your environment is very much supportive or not supportive of that. When you go outside of your comfort zone, and we can use an example of, and I know this sounds really, really strange, somebody that's decided to start taking themselves and getting fitter and healthier and going to the gym. When you go in the gym, you automatically think that everybody's watching you, judging you, checking you out, where in reality, most people are just doing their thing. There's a coach called James Smith. He has a great phrase: the heaviest weight in the gym is the door. Which is to get in and not feel like you're being judged. So you can be really confident in your job and your family life, and you walk into the gym and suddenly you adopt this role of this very sort of, almost want to curl up in a ball, no confidence because of your environment.
But the reality is you're more concerned about what they're thinking than they are about what they don't care. They do not care. They are doing them.
Yeah.
And they're worried about what everybody else is thinking more often than not.
So, it's like we're walking around with these internal dimmer switches and we turn versions of ourselves down or up based on who's around us.
Yes.
And wouldn't it be really nice within sensible reasons to just turn up and just be you?
Yeah. Yeah, that that's one of the coolest things about getting older.
Yeah.
When you
You
figure
just stop
yourself
caring.
out. Yeah,
Do you think
it is just
Yeah.
super cool, and it takes so much of that stupid noise that's going on in your head. It just takes it out of play. It gives you
Yeah.
quiet and peace.
It's the old Marmite analogy, isn't it? They're either going to love you or hate you. And generally, if you're just trying to be an all right person, well, if they don't like you, well, that's no reflection on you. Not everybody's for everybody, are they?
Yeah, and that's okay. And I think when you get to a point where you're like, oh, you're like if you don't align or you don't click, that's like, oh, that's okay, and move on. We're not trying to be friends with everybody. We're not trying to like be best buddies with everybody. It's like, oh yeah, like some people we're just not going to gel with. Don't take it personal. Just move on because
I think, though, the issue is when you start to lose pieces of yourself around people to stay in that safe zone. So, like for me personally, I can recognise now around certain energies for a large proportion of my life, I would go into a state of fight or flight. I would need to control the energy. In fact, I'd walk into a room and my mind would go, where's the angry person? Where's the person that's, not quite on the same page? Look for the scan, look for the threat. Now I could walk into a room and go, if they're angry, well, that's on them.
yeah.
I'm not taking ownership for that person's behaviour towards me. But I wasn't always able to do that.
And so, what do you think was the reason that you're now at this stage? Obviously, you've done the training, you teach this as well. Do you see a pivotal moment or moments?
No, I think it took a long time to get to the point of where I'm at. I'm 51 now. And if I'm being brutally honest, I only think in the last 5-6 years have I really properly started to figure it out. I would probably have said to you earlier than that, I've got it figured out. But in reality, I hadn't. I kind of got the concept, but I'd not executed it. And by the way, I can still fall back into those old traits. If someone's miffed with me or I've, unintentionally upset someone, or sometimes through, an action have upset someone, part of me wants to get really busy at fixing it and fixing it quick because it's about how I'm feeling in the situation. And I do know deep down, if they're cheesed off with me, well,
yeah. But I think you've just hit the nail on the head. It's understanding the concept. So my bounce back, if I do get triggered or set off, whether I'm responding to something somebody in the family's done or a friend or whoever, my bounce back is so much quicker because I'm like, oh, it's that aspect, right? Okay, I'm just moving on. But it's we're human. We're not going to just be like 100% fixed and we're enlightened beings. It's like we're here learning, and those things that upset us can still be there, but we can recognize them. So it's the awareness.
Yeah, they're definitely still there.
Yeah.
We were talking just before we started recording about a friend of mine that came to see one of my projects yesterday, and she turned up and we had an issue with the dog, so I had to shoot away early. Bless her, this lady, she'd had an hour's drive to come and see us, and somebody else was able to show her around, but she wanted to come and see me. And so I've tried calling her back. So look, I'll take you out for something to eat, or no answer. And by the time I'd finished telling myself these stories, and I'd fallen back into this old path of overthinking, which was the biggest thing that I'd tried to sort of overcome in the past.
Yeah,
I was feeling sick with guilt. My stomach, I felt it in the bottom of my stomach.
Yeah.
And it turns out this morning, she sent me a text to say she'd had a mini stroke and she's actually in hospital, which is why she wasn't answering the phone. So my head had gone down this path, and I'd forgotten, just for a bit, I'd forgotten that a lot of that, you don't have to believe everything that comes into your head. And between that and this constant thing that we do, with scanning our environment for evidence to back up what the rubbish in our head is telling us.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's the thing is that what is the cost of always been like this? Because it's pretty high, isn't it? This taking on responsibility for how other people are feeling. I think you asked me earlier about, like the difference between now and then and what you've learned. I think really for me now, if I have to invest quite a lot of mental energy in figuring out how to operate in the friendship or the relationship, then they're the wrong person for me.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's not amazing to get to a point where you recognise that, oh, yeah, this isn't...
Yeah. Or suddenly you get this bout of anxiety. Oh, I better do this just in case. Or I better call them because I've not spoken to them. And they might have a problem with that. And then when you do speak to them, they're like, oh, it's you. I wondered where you gone. And you kind of get this guilt trip.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I'm now having to perform to meet this unconscious contract that we've both signed up to, where I have to be at this position. And I think now people in my life that give me that energy, I just don't have the time for it.
Oh, I agree totally. It does make me wonder, what was it in the past that drove me to do? I understand where my people pleasing come from, but this thing where this need for acceptance. Now I understand, like I think in America, I mean, don't quote me on this, but I think 1 in 4 men couldn't name a best friend, and 1 in 7 have got no friends at all. So do you think that makes desperate, like almost trying to impress people or, adjust to them through a sense of desperation?
Possibly.
That's really not healthy.
Well, I found it interesting. I was watching, I don't normally watch it, I just caught it on telly last night. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And Martin Kemp from Spandau Ballet, he opened up because he went out last night. He goes, I don't really have any friends. I've made friends in the jungle. And he kind of opened up, and I found that really interesting in that I think some people shut down and distance themselves because they don't or they can't operate in that area, and it's just easier just to not have it. Isolate yourself or have a very, very small circle. Like I've got lots of friends, but I could probably on one hand, like what I call true
the inner circle.
The 3 a.m.ers. I could phone them at 3 a.m. and go, I'm here, I'm stuck. And they would drop everything and they would come. And they're the people where I don't have to, I haven't spoken to them for 2 weeks, or I haven't sent them a message. We just know we're there, and there's no, anxiety kind of driving it. For me, a lot of it was as a young kid, I felt I needed to take on the responsibility of the mood of adults around me. Because if I didn't, or I didn't read the room, it normally meant there was some kind of danger coming. So it was this hypervigilance that kind of comes. And you said something earlier about, I don't know where it really come through. In my opinion, I think a lot of it feeds back from, we don't believe we're good enough, or we deserve, or, it's from a weak spot somewhere inside of us, this need to be liked.
Yeah. It's a wounding from our childhood in how we saw we needed to be, or how to cope, or to keep the peace, or to be seen, to be appreciated. It's just those patterns and programming from when we're young.
And have you noticed, right, I don't know if it's the same for you, when life gets a bit mental, so work, finances, relationships, everything around you is fast moving, it's chaotic, these behaviours can creep in quite quickly.
Yes, definitely.
So going back to trauma, unconscious thought patterns, and so you just go back to the...
Yeah, I call it plate spinning.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep that over there going and them all sweet and over here. And I'm in the middle of, but I'm not a consideration in any of the plate spinning. I'm just the plate spinner. None of my needs get met in that. And it's quite easy to end up back in that space.
Well, that's quite funny, actually, because, you're saying none of your needs are being met. Well, that's kind of the definition of trauma in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It is. It's easy to fall into this. Make sure everyone else around you is okay, because then that creates this false sense of I can be okay, rather than going, no, just focus on your. Well, I don't mean like be completely like stuff everyone, but like make sure you're in an okay place before you try and prop everybody else up.
Yeah.
Because that's where the people-pleasing traits will kick in, or I'll let you just treat me like a doormat, or whatever it is. The science is there. It shows that approximately 60% of us shift our behaviours around people.
Yeah.
Not to be fake. It's because part of us on an unconscious level is constantly looking for that safety. Whether that's acceptance or,
Or sometimes just admiration. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want to, you admire somebody and you just don't want to
Yeah,
show a non-perfect version of yourself.
Yeah.
Again, they don't care,
yeah.
but it's this pressure that you put on yourself.
I think the key thing is for for listeners to reflect upon is, who do you stop being when certain people are in your energy or are in the room with you, and which version of you feels the most like home? When you're at peace. Yeah.
And how do you decipher which are the right people?
The fact that you're even having to question it normally shows you there's the answer.
Yeah.
The answer's there. Think of things like, where did you learn the role that you keep repeating? And does it fit into your life right now? Because once you recognise the patterns and who tends to trigger them, that your triggers in these situations are full of gold. The answers are there. Well, that was a great conversation.
It was.
It was a really good one. As always, we really appreciate you listening to our episodes. If you could do us a massive favour, whatever platform you're listening to us on, whether that's Spotify or YouTube or Apple Podcast, please click that subscribe button. It really helps us on the platforms. If you've got a comment, please drop a comment. Or if there's something you'd like us to talk about, drop us a comment, drop us an email, and we'll always include it in the episodes. Thank you very much for watching and listening.
If you or someone close to you needs to access mental health support, please contact your GP, or if it's out with normal office hours, get in touch with NHS 24 on 111. Alternatively, contact the Samaritans on 116 123. All calls are free of charge from any phone. You can also find more support information on the TicketyBoo website, ticketyboopodcast.co.uk.